Legislative Relations Committee meeting to order. It is Friday, January 27th. We'll move on to, I think everybody's here except Mr. Rayo, so we're going to move forward with the quorum. Agenda item A is just our update from our lobbyists. So I see Mr. Jaramillo on. If you want to jump in and give us your update.
Sure. It was nice to see you and Councilor Bassan this week up at the session. I think the session is in full swing. Today was sort of a quiet afternoon and a quiet weekend. This might be the last quiet weekend. Mr. Forty and I saw each other in the hallway, talked briefly about his presentation. So there's lots to come for sure. On city business, we will have the warrants bill that will support the appropriation in House Judiciary on Monday. Likewise, the retail crime bill will likewise be in committee next week. Those are on the two of the larger crime bills. The MRA bill, the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area bill, was dropped by Senator Hamblin this week and should be in Senate tax either late next week or the following week. So those are both MCI and non-MCI related bills, and we're also continuing to monitor. And I have my assistant was nice enough to prepare a trusty spreadsheet binder of other legislation for us to monitor as it starts moving forward. But we anticipate that next week we'll really start. Committees will start really meeting with full agendas and things. Probably at the next IGR, I'll have more substantive update on where bills are. But right now, they're still just moving through their first committees.
Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. Any questions for our lobbyist? Anybody from the city that wants to add anything from an update point of view?
And if Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'll have some follow-up comments after Mr. Forty and I did discuss the matter that he's going to discuss, which hits on some very important fiscal policies for the city of Albuquerque, and I can discuss briefly conversations I've had with some other municipal lobbyists as well as members of the tax committee on that issue.
Okay, I believe that's under other business. Am I?
No, Madam Chair, it'd be under item A.
It is, okay. Do we want to go to that item now then, Mr. Forty?
Thank you, Madam Chair, councilors. AJ Forty with the Municipal League. We also have Allison Nichols on, our policy director for the Municipal League. Yeah, our number one concern right now is the tax package, right? We have not seen an actual bill. So I don't have a bill to present to you in an analysis yet, but we do know pyramiding will be in a tax package. So when we talk about pyramiding, or we call it business to business transactions, our understanding is the bill would be focused on a similar piece of legislation from last year, which is attorneys, accountants, and architects. When you capture that group, right, Albuquerque has roughly 70% of the businesses in the state. The fiscal impact on that bill is about $140 million. So our concern for Albuquerque, you take the largest hit. So there's a potential to have, on the low end, $50 to $70 million fiscal impact to the city of Albuquerque. We don't believe that would be sustainable for any of our cities, especially Albuquerque. You can't replace that revenue. So we're very concerned if the legislature were to propose a bill to address pyramiding on local increments. Because if Albuquerque gets hit for 50 to 70 million, that means everyone else also takes a proportional share of that $140 million hit. So we have some cities that have had a very difficult time with destination sourcing. So this would be a double whammy for them. We're very concerned about the moratorium language that was in last year, right? When the moratorium language was put in, we sent out the email blast to all of our mayors and councilors to say, please call your legislator, right? There's two parts that we have an issue on the moratorium. You have the 2.05 non-referendum. You all get to make the decision to implement those increments, and Albuquerque has in the past for public safety. Then you have the 0.45. That's referendum. That's where we can ask the voters to make the decision on how you want to fund your communities. They want to take that right away for 5 years. Obviously, that's unfair. That's not equitable between us and the state, right? The state has $10 billion of federal funds, and they also have oil money. We don't. We want the ability to compete with salaries. Recruitment and retention is number one for us. We hear that statewide. So we need the ability to adjust and compete with state revenue. So that's our number one concern right now with what we know is coming in the tax package. Madam Chair, are there any specific questions on the tax package? If not, there are other pieces of legislation that we're here to brief on as well.
See if there's any hands. I do not see any. I have a couple. Oh, Mr. Padilla.
Madam Chair, thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. Forty. The first question is, do we know who's going to be sponsoring this legislation, this particular tax package?
Madam Chair, members, I believe it's going to be a combination, right? Several members are dropping different parts of the ultimate omnibus tax package. The pyramiding piece specifically, my understanding will be Representative Harper will have the pyramiding component.
Madam Chair, Mr. Forty, so it's not necessarily like one individual bill. This is multiple bills that are going to be moving.
Yes.
And Madam Chair, Mr. Forty, in the provision that says that the municipalities will not be able to raise taxes, is that going to be included in Representative Harper's legislation, or will that be in another one?
Madam Chair, members, on the moratorium component, I don't know who is going to have that piece, that part of the package. I do know the pyramiding will be Representative Harper.
And Madam Chair, and the members of the committee, I think that I believe right now when we did the hold harmless tax increase that was done about 4 years ago, it brought in about $56 million a year. I haven't looked to see what the numbers are now, but I'm assuming they're probably closer to like 63, 64, somewhere in there. So essentially what was done 4 years ago to offset the hold harmless that was taken by the state whenever we reduced taxes on food and medicine will essentially be wiped out. Madam Chair, Mr. Forty, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I do know that some of the other municipal unions, have you spoken to some of the municipal unions?
Madam Chair, members, we have. This is one of those bills where we are on the same page as the unions. They understand that our revenue goes to employees, their members. They absolutely understand doing pyramiding on the local increments would be devastating for our employees statewide. They understand it. We have discussed doing a joint op-ed so everyone understands the significance of what this would do to cities.
Madam Chair, Mr. Forty, can you name the unions that you've spoken to that might be interested in doing that?
So I have spoke with ASME. Madam Chair, we met with them last week. And I do appreciate, the coordination with them, the fact that they understand where our revenue goes. This is one of those instances where we are on the same page with them, right? A moratorium, that doesn't help any of our services, right? We have to deliver services. We have to have recruitment and retention. And with the inability to raise revenue, that's a problem. With 106 municipalities, everyone is different. Some cities don't want to raise revenue. Some have no choice. So having that flexibility within our authority, we need the ability to keep that, to respond.
And the last one, Madam Chair, Mr. Forty, have you spoken to any of the public safety unions? Or do you have any idea where they're at?
Madam Chair, members, I have not talked to public safety unions at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Griego Montoya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up. I know that the Albuquerque Chamber, Greater Albuquerque Chamber was supportive of the pyramiding part of this. Do you know if they're supporting the overall package? And are there any other sort of key groups that have an Albuquerque presence that are weighing in on this bill or on the tax package generally?
Madam Chair, members, I can only speak to what was presented on at the Tax Research Institute. So the Chamber did stand up and speak in support of the pyramiding component and also in support of the moratorium on local governments. We were obviously very surprised at that. We understand the impact of public safety. And I do feel that once the business community understands the impact to law enforcement and public safety statewide, there's a balance that has to be reached. Our proposal would be We support the pyramiding bill, just not on local increments. And that's where we can have the balance within the bill. So you all can have the revenue to support public safety, and the state can afford to do a decrease in revenue by addressing pyramiding on the state rate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Forty.
Thank you. I just had one question. Most of mine got answered, but is there any thought that there will be additional co-sponsors or any of the other pieces being sponsored by anyone in the majority?
That's a good question, Madam Chair. And until they're all introduced, we're not going to have that idea, right? We will see a vehicle. We call it a vehicle, right? There will be a tax bill that moves from the House to the Senate that we will see get held, and that will be the omnibus, right? They will fold every piece that will be in the package into one. That's when we'll get the idea who the primary sponsor will be.
Mr. Jaramillo, did you have something?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I just in follow up. This issue was raised in the interim and it was discussed with the former chair of the tax committee, who is in the majority. So the majority is aware of the city's concerns and the municipal league's concerns. And I'll leave it at that for now.
And Madam Chair, if I may, to piggyback on that, we've done analysis on how local governments have used our authority. It's very rare and it's very targeted. So when we look at when local governments enact our authority, it's for salaries, it's for fire, EMS, police. So that's why we just don't understand why they would want something that would take away the ability to fund public safety and salaries.
Any other questions or comments on this issue? Oh, Councilor Penny.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I had a couple of questions. This I'm hearing circulating, and then of course, we have these additional revenues, and I hear that they're wanting to. I think our reserves that we usually do when we have additional money at the state is like 10 to 12% above. I'm hearing that there's this idea of putting like 38 to 48% in reserves, but yet, so we have all this money, and there's a lot of people talking about all these cuts. Like one of them was the, taking back all the REOF money and all those projects, and then taking away our taxing authority. So what is it doesn't mesh with all the influx of money we have. So what is the desire? What is the sentiment that this discussion is coming about? Because it's just real interesting to me how, if we're going to save 30% for 38% of our reserves, put into reserves, and typically we do 10 to 12, and then we have all these bills. It's like going against the grain. There's a lot of people asking, why do we have so much money and we can't tap into it?
Well, Madam Chair, members, that you're on the same page as us. We can't follow the logic, right? And we focus at the league on local control, right? That's primary in what we do. And so when we see and we support, right, state police getting an 18% salary increase, they need it. We support that. But you also know where those officers come from. They come from local governments. So we need the ability to counter and raise our salaries so we don't lose all of our officers. And it's difficult when we don't have federal funds and we don't have oil money. That puts us at a disadvantage. So the idea, you're right, the state has lots of money. With 106 municipalities, we are all in a different boat. We all have different revenue streams. We have different industries within our communities. So revenue is very different statewide. And so that's why we have to have that flexibility. And, with the state revenue increasing 37% over the last 4 years, our revenue has not had those percentage increases, but yet we still have to compete with the same employment pool. It's the people that we're all going for, and it's salary ultimately that is going to attract the best talent. Right now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess for our staff, whether Tom or Isaac, Eric, so what's our taxing authority? What do we have left? Because I know we had I don't remember exactly what it is. I know when we did the hold harmless, I think we could only raise it another 0.25%. Is that accurate or?
Madam Chair, Councilor Pena, there's, I think, a few different streams that we have available, but some of them are very specific for certain things. I can't remember exactly what it was when we did the analysis 4 or 5 years ago, but I'm sure that Eric can probably have our budget team look at that and forward that information to people in the committee.
Okay, because I know one was for public safety, one was hold harmless, and then there was something else. So I'm not sure, what the taxing ability that we have left and how would it impact our current taxes.
And Madam Chair, I know that I think the other one was for the biopark and then also the rail runner as one. I think those are 1/8 and an 1/8, I think is what they are. And there's, like Tagzik said, there's public safety, which is 1/4. And then there's transportation infrastructure, which is 1/4. Although I have to go to Mr. Forte, I think the top, is it 9.25% that a municipality can top out? I mean, it's used up all its capacity when it gets to that level. I think isn't there a maximum level?
Madam Chair, there is. So it's 2.05 non-referendum, 0.45 referendum. That is our maximum increment authority. In the feedback that we've received from mayors and councils statewide, no one wants to raise taxes. They just want the state to stop reducing our revenue.
That's all I have, Madam Chair. I mean, just to be snide with your comment, we could use the reserves to reduce our taxing authority and then have the state give us that extra reserves of 38%. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I asked DFAS to take a look at, just so we're clear on, because I know some of those sunset at different times, just so we can know not just what our current capacity and authority is, but also what in the next couple of years, what's going to be sunsetting and so on. So we'll get that to the committee, not by the end of the call, as soon as possible. So
thank you. I appreciate that, because I was actually interested today. I was thinking about the hold harmless, and I was wondering how that's being spent and when it sunsets. So thank you, Mr. Grego.
And Madam Chair, I believe our current rate in the city is at 0.775. So, and Mr. Forte, what did you say the state max is, or is it 9.2, or I can't remember?
Well, we break it up. So we have our 1.225 local distribution. Then we have 2.05 non-referendum and 0.5 referendum.
Okay. On that one. So that's it. So, okay, sorry.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I thought I saw Mr. Jaramillo trying to talk a few minutes. No, okay. All right. Thank you for being here and giving us that update. We really appreciate it. We're going to move on to B, the coordination for the legislative session. And I'll just start this with a huge thank you to Mr. Hertz. I live to read bills, and he has beat me to several this week and sent emails explaining them and everything. So it's been really great to have that level of tracking available. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Hertz if he wants to tell us where we are on the tracking spreadsheet and any other things that we need to know.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. Yeah, I'm happy to bring up the spreadsheet if you would like. As our council staff is kind of been splitting up the work on a day-to-day basis, tracking different bills that are being introduced and trying to update our counselors as best as we can to let them know what's going on. And so if the committee would like, I could open up that spreadsheet and share it with everybody, or if there's any particular policy area you want to discuss, we can do that too. So,
Mr. Hertz, I'd like to just go through the legislative priorities that were in the bill.
Sure.
Which one of those have been introduced would be a good start for me.
Okay. Yeah, let me, I think I should be able to share my screen. Give me 1 sec. Are you guys able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. So as the Councilor Peeblecorn mentioned, we've been tracking both bills that kind of align with our state priorities resolution, as well as ones that kind of fall out of that the counselors might find interesting, and so, or worth following. And so in regards to bills that fall under legislative priorities, we have one here, Senate Bill 2, tied to judicial salary increases. I'm just going to keep going. I'll go through all the ones that fall under our priority areas. We also have, in terms of custody standards, Senate Bill 29, Senate Bill 123. Let's see, and these, just so everybody knows, we have all these are listed kind of in the order in which they were introduced. We do have quite a few under, we had the priority area of comprehensive climate legislation. And so we have House Bill 42, Senate Bill 5. Let's see here.
I think that was the only one we were going to track under that legislative priority, because the others were a little far afield from what was in our bill.
Yes, Madam Chair, there are quite a few climate related bills that have come through, but yes, I know there's just a few that we're really focusing on. In terms of housing, I know that we had strengthened New Mexico's regional housing authority laws. I don't know if there's going to be more that is coming toward or on this topic, but I know that, I see, Eric, you had a question there?
I'm sorry, Mr. Griego, I didn't see you there.
No, I just put it up, Madam Chair. I can wait till the presentations so we don't hold it up, but I have a couple of other quick comments and updates on a couple of these, but we can wait till we go through and or do it for every bill. It's up to you, Madam Chair. We'll
just go through and then we'll come back to you.
Great.
Yes, I think in terms of the we had one bill that was referencing changing the affordable housing. I think it was amending the Affordable Housing Credit Act, and so we flagged that one. I'm not sure if there are a few other bills related to housing, and especially the creation of a regional housing authority that have been introduced, but that's the one we have flagged under that priority area. These are, let's see, these are a bunch of other ones that we found that the councilors would find interesting to follow. But in terms of comprehensive climate legislation, let's see, this was another one. Can't remember what this bill was.
I think that was one of the ones that you had sent me. I mean, there's a lot of climate bills, but I think we had decided that we would only track the comprehensive ones because that was what kind of fell into the actual legislation that we all agreed upon.
Right. No, you're right. I'll keep going through. Let's see. There's a bunch more here. I know that we had a few more that were aligned with. Let's see, there was another one here under custody standards relating to bail. Let's see, that was Senate Bill 174, specifying the standard to be employed for pretrial release hearings. Climate. There's one here under housing income discrimination. This is House Bill 186 relating to property tax, providing flexibility regarding the requirement to provide proof of eligibility for disabled veterans property tax exemption. And I think that's the end of our list for now.
Thank you. So I really just wanted to have that list gone through because as folks can see, there's quite a few that were in our areas of prioritization from the city that don't have bills introduced yet. I just wondered if folks had any kind of insider information on when those additional ones are going to be introduced. Certainly not too late, but we are in the end of week 2 of the session. So just a flag, and then we'll go back to Mr. Griego Montoya for questions and clarifications.
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask David to sort of update, because I know we have several sponsors identified for some of those other bills, and they have not been dropped yet, but I know we've talked to sponsors, or he's talked to sponsors on a number of them. Just a quick update on the housing, the strategic housing authority conversation. We had asked Senator Ortiz-Pino to open a file on the possibility of how we might be able to restructure Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Housing Authority. And I think for now that's on hold. So we've not continued drafting, mostly because there have been ongoing conversations between some council, some commission, and sort of city county folks about the best way to do that. And our analysis currently is under existing state statute that we have substantial authority to do some sort of much more sort of cooperative authority that wouldn't require us to change state statute. So currently the strategy is to continue working without changing state statute to accomplish the same goal, which is to try to have much more collaboration between city and county housing authorities. So just wanted to give an update. I'm not sure that bill will move off the dime, but currently we're working without changing state statute. And then I think I know there's a couple of other bills on the MCI and crime related stuff that we've identified sponsors for. And David, I don't know if you know, I think I have a couple of updates, so you may have more current information, but. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes, Madam Chair, member of the committee. There's a few that are awaiting final dropping. One will be on Monday, will be the retail crime bill. Representative Matthews spoke on the topic at the bipartisan press conference that the governor had earlier this week. That should start rolling next week. Another bill that's not on the tracker is House Bill 9, related to gun use by minors. That Representative Herndon, it's already made through one committee, should be in another committee next week. So there's one bill that is moving, as well as another bill that is going to get dropped. And of course, the warrant bill, a version of it is in play. We've worked on it to try to address concerns that House Judiciary expressed earlier this week about making sure that all aspects of the criminal justice system have the resources needed to execute the warrants. And hopefully that bill will get substituted on Monday. If not, one version of it will proceed on Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Mr. Griego Montoya, you may have some other information on some others too, but those were 3 of the main ones.
Madam Chair, just a couple of other, just to add to that. So we had also, and this is an MCI bill, and I don't think it was officially voted as one of the priorities, but we had discussed the Office of Gun Violence Protection, which I know of has been Representative Hockman Vigil and Senator Duhigger, I think, are going to sponsor. I don't know if that's been dropped yet or not, but that was another MCI related bill that we were supporting. There was a priority. There's also in the MCI priorities that came out of the recommendations from the Domestic Violence Task Force, which is now hopefully will be a commission fully seated soon, thanks to members of the IGR and members of council. There's a bill that we are also considering part of that package from Representative Ortiz, which is HB 133 to recruit more sexual assault service providers. So, and there's a number of DV bills that we're tracking as well because they relate closely. So we'll make sure to follow those and give updates as we meet. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And then I'll just flag HB 218 was introduced today, sponsored by Representative Ortiz and Senate Pro Tem Stewart. It's on our list of priorities under the low income rate. I want to make sure that's flagged for the lobbyists because that is a city priority. Any other updates on kind of where we're at, what's coming? I don't see Mr. Thompson on the line, but I heard in the back of my brain today, I was listening to the House floor. Do we know when the deadline for capital outlay forms from legislators is? I believe they said it was literally next week, but I might have heard it wrong. Mr. Harmony? Oh.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I know that's why he is not here. That it's capital outlay is a very busy time right now. I don't know when the form deadline is, but I know he is fully aware of that, and he and his team is actively working on that as we speak.
Thank you. I believe it's next Thursday, if I heard correctly, just as a flag. And then Councilor Bassan?
Madam Chair, I have heard the 6th, but I guess if it's Thursday, we need to confirm, because that's enough time that could really mess things up.
Yes, that's why I wanted to raise it. I could have heard it wrong. I'll go back and listen to the recording because I was talking at the same time, but I believe I heard next Thursday, which is much earlier than I had anticipated. So can somebody help me figure out where that is exactly? And we'll send out a notification to everyone when we get that exact date so that we all know the timeline we're planning on here.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll make sure someone gets back to you all on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other updates, activities that we need to talk about? Okay, let's move on to C. Is Mr. O'Donnell on? We need a report from federal lobbyists.
Madam Chair, Mr. O'Donnell is on an airplane. He actually was in Albuquerque this week, and I think was flying back at this time. So he'll be, but we will have him on next week to discuss the beginning of the congressional directed spending process and begin that initiative.
Great, thank you, Mr. Micucci. All right, moving on, other business. We do need to elect a vice chair for this year. As we all know, Mr. Rael is the chair, but we need to elect a vice chair. Councilor Bassan.
Madam Chair, I think you've done a fabulous job, and I would like to nominate you to continue doing this role.
Thank you. Is there any second?
Second from.
I would second that. So
I'll third it then.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Councilor Bassan. Do we need to do a vote on that, Mr. Micucci? I think we do.
For the records, yes, Madam
Okay.
Chair. So,
does somebody call the roll?
Councilor Feeblecorn?
Yes.
Councilor Bassan?
Yes.
Councilor Pena?
yes.
Mr. Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Griego?
Yes.
Madam Chair, that passes 5-0 with 1 absent.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's support. All right, unless there's anything else, we will adjourn this meeting and I will see you all next Friday. We will get, before next Friday, we will get the final answer on when those capital outlay forms are due to everybody here. So thank you very much.